Welcome to Talk with the Mayor, or America's Mayor, whichever you would like better. America's Mayor sounds kind of nice, right? So, as you can see from the background, we are still here in East in Palestine, and here all day. And I think we've learned a great deal, and report to you about it. And there's still a lot of questions. And I don't think those questions are going to be answered by anyone right away if they're telling the truth. One of the problems in government is, in order to satisfy people, the people in government give the answers that either they think people want to hear, or the answers that they think businesses want to hear, or the answers they want to hear. But they don't do the more difficult thing of saying, I'm sorry, we're not at a stage yet where we have enough evidence to really make a determination like that. So from everything I can tell, and then we'll go into the details of it, we don't know yet how bad or how not so bad this is going to be. At this stage of developments, 3 Mile Island is going to kill thousands of people. At some point, it killed no one. Other incidents like September 11 were supposed to be closed with the number of people killed on September 11 and some of the people injured as a result of that, injured and surviving. And it turned out many, many people died of various forms of toxic poisoning that was undetected at the time, even though testing was done by 5 different, maybe 6 different sources. So I'm telling you this because no matter what you hear, and no matter how definitive it sounds, I do not logically believe that at this stage, people can give you definitive information. And if they are, they're probably not even lying unless they have some monetary motive. They're probably trying to feel important. One of the problems with television is we put too many people on television. They have to have opinions, and then they make them up. You know, like the retired generals who all can fight the war better than the poor generals who are actually fighting the war, or the retired police chiefs who can solve the problems of crime that they never solved when they were police chiefs, but they can do it on television. So the reality is it's a serious situation. And the biggest story so far that emerges from this is the incredibly, almost impossible to describe reaction of the President of the United States and the Secretary of Transportation, who treated this like it was, well, actually, they treated it like it didn't happen. Not even like it wasn't important. They treated it as if it didn't happen. And if you look at those first pictures, which we're going to show you of the first night, how you could look at those pictures and not have a reaction to it and want to at least find out for yourself just how bad it was, indicates a real lack of commitment on the part of the people that serve us. Is it a general lack of commitment, or is it a particular dislike, hatred, anger for this particular area because it was pro-Trump? Trump is probably the only public official that accomplished anything. What he accomplished was he got attention for a situation that was not getting the outside attention that it deserved. Internally, the mayor and the congressman and several others were doing a good job of pulling together the resources internally. Internally meaning the surrounding counties, to some extent the state, and doing the best they could. But they weren't getting the kind of high quality federal assistance that I'm used to. I don't think I ever had an emergency of any depth, even though I ran a city that in some ways is as large as the federal government in some areas. But I never had an emergency of any substance that didn't have FEMA deeply involved, and usually a very valuable cooperative partner. In a situation like this, the first thing they would have done for me is gone and assembled examples of the closest things to this that happened before, and exactly what the protocols were, what worked, what didn't work, who's alive that knows about it, who lived through it, who didn't. As far as I can tell, none of that has happened in all of the discussions that I had. We met first thing this morning with the mayor. He's a very, very fine man, a very nice man, very straight, direct, and honest man, and an intelligent man, and that's all you need. You don't need to be fancy Mayor Adams to be a good mayor. Sometimes fancy mayors go to jail. I'm not saying Mayor Adams would go to jail, but we've had some fancy mayors that have gone to jail. I even convicted a few. What you have is an honest mayor, intelligent, hardworking, and wants to get to the answer. He's got no ulterior motive. The same thing is true of the congressman. The rest of the people I meet, I have no idea. They could be working for the railroad, or they could be working for themselves, or they could be trying to get a case, or they could be working some political purpose, or those two I can be pretty sure of. So I build my strategy around them. So, Ted, shall we do a little review of the day, because we learned a lot, and maybe we'll put some people on.
Thanks for joining us, America's
parts of what happened here.
Mayor Live with America's Mayor Rudy Giuliani.
What it was like then.
Yes.
February 3rd, right? Is the date. The date that it happened is February 3rd, correct? So
and we're going to bring on our first guest.
So who would we like first?
We're going to bring on Harry Jones, who owns Tom's Wholesale Tires, and has been kind enough.
Right now, we're at Tom Wholesale Tires, and behind me is, as you can see, the East Palestine Fire Department that received tremendous praise the other day from the mayor, from the congressman, from the governor, or not the governor, the governor was there. You do have a governor, right?
Yes, we do.
Okay. Just I always wonder, you might be a state that doesn't have a governor.
Mr. DeWine.
I don't see him that much around. So tell me, well, let's begin with, where were you when it happened? What happened to your business, and where are things now?
So when everything first happened that Friday night, I was actually at my house. I live about 8 miles from where this happened.
And where it happened is very close to here.
Yes, we were within the 1 mile.
So we're 1 mile from where the explosion took place, which is basically over your shoulder.
Yes, yeah. On Friday nights, if you were here and looked over my shoulder, you would have seen a vast glow in the sky.
Right, you showed me a picture of that. Ted, did you get that picture? Will you show that to our very nice audience? Because that picture is a picture I think many of us remember, of the many pictures that were shown.
There was a lot of pictures out there, a lot of videos.
Was that one ever on, that particular one?
That one was not.
But ones like it were on.
Yes, there was ones like that.
It looked like
half the town was burning down.
Yeah, it looked like the attack, an attack in Ukraine, or.
Can you just hold that up?
Yeah,
just hold that up. And I'll zoom in.
Yeah, you would think this is a war zone.
Yeah, so listen, I was at home that night. I started getting texts from friends that lived here in town. I started getting videos showing what was going on. So then we started watching the news and looking at social media, trying to see what was actually happening here. I ended up getting a call at 3:30 in the morning from our county sheriff, who asked me to come in and open up our diesel pumps because the fire trucks could not get fuel.
So that would be the fire trucks across the street.
Yes.
But you also have other firehouses, I'm sure.
We have 2 firehouses here in town. We have one that's right here behind us, and the other one's on the other side of the tracks.
You know how many we have? 373.
We had to have 2, one on each side of the tracks, in case a fire happens and a train's coming.
We
can still get fire trucks to it.
My.
So
yeah,
I came in to say, I got here about 3:45 in the morning.
So how many trucks do they have there?
I believe there's 2 trucks over here typically. I think there's probably 2 over at the other one.
Now, the mayor told me you got tremendous assistance, reciprocal assistance.
We did.
So that in essence, people shouldn't feel like, oh, if there's a fire, there are only 3 trucks. It's common throughout America that these communities that have small fire departments, you work with the next county and the next county and the next town and the next county, and all of a sudden you got 20 fire trucks.
Yeah, we had a vast amount of fire departments respond to us. The
Right.
vast amount. We had Negley respond. We had Darlington, Union Valley, Columbiana. Anybody pretty much within a 30-mile radius, it seemed like, showed up to help out, which was very appreciative.
Yeah, and according to the people that I spoke to, that was not a problem. Meaning they worked really well together
Yes, they did.
and realized immediately. Did they know right away that this was not just a fire? I mean, it could have been a train went on fire, just a regular train, even a train with cargo, but non lethal cargo. And your fire would burn and destroy, and it's all over. Turns out, instead, what, 10 cars, 11 cars had lethal
I
camera.
think there was up to like 25 that had possible carcinogens in them, toxics.
Do they all go up?
I don't think all of them went up, but I'll be honest, I don't know that.
Okay,
answer.
so I think it's about 10 or 11, and one really bad one.
Yeah.
The one that might explode. When did you find out that was in play? Because that makes it a whole degree now much more frightening and much more difficult.
I heard rumors actually Saturday that the
But not that night. Well, that night.
that morning when I came in Saturday morning, so probably at about 5-6 o'clock in the morning, one of the fire trucks that came in, and one of the firefighters was talking about there possibly being vinyl chloride on the train that could be burning, but again, they didn't know what was burning.
When you came in that morning here, the flame was there.
Yes.
Firehouse was probably open, and
So the command center was set up at this firehouse right here. So everybody that needed to do anything was based out of the
sure,
firehouse
that
right
made
here.
sense because you were on site, right?
Yes,
So this must have been a little bit of a madhouse here.
it was.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then during the day, you found out more about it.
Started finding out more. A lot of it starting to come through the news outlets that were coming into town, starting to report on it. Again, a lot of it I think was we knew there was a fire, but wasn't exactly sure what was burning.
Right.
Because they knew what was in the tanker, but they don't know which tanker was burning. So it took a while, I feel, to find out what was actually on fire, to see what was, causing the harm in the air.
And then the decision that the fire went on for several days.
Yes.
Right. And until burn off, what was the general conditions? Could you smell it?
There was a smell in town. You could definitely tell there's a fire going.
Did you feel congested?
I personally did not.
Did not. Okay. So during September 11th, oh gosh, a couple of weeks into it, I felt like I couldn't breathe. There was a knot in my nose, like a big knot in my nose, which I had to have taken out, and so did a lot of other people. But there were people that were their eyes were tearing, and they were affected by it. Was it a large number, or?
I've heard there's a decent amount that are having issues. Some have rashes, some have hard time breathing. I've heard people having bloody noses. Some people have gone to doctors to seek medical attention just to make sure what's going on with them. So.
And then where were you when the burn off took place? Was that a major explosion also?
Yes, it was.
That was another major, as big as the original one.
I wasn't here for the original,
as bad as the original one.
I would say probably. I mean, when you're taking a substance like that and making a controlled explosion on it, unfortunately, I was at home watching on TV.
Did you hear it at home?
I did not hear it at home. I did go outside to see if I could see it.
Courtney heard it at home. Is Courtney still here? Did she leave?
No.
She just walked in. Now, Courtney.
Courtney is not with us at this time, Mayor, but we are in touch with her, and we'll probably.
She was here a little while ago.
Nope, that was another person.
Oh, I thought it was Courtney. Now, did you hear the blow off, Millie?
No, I didn't.
Did you hear it?
No, I live within the mall and we were evacuated. I was in Pittsburgh.
Oh, okay, all right.
They evacuated a lot of people so that they wouldn't get hurt if there wasn't levee.
So now, how would you describe the situation now? Where are you in terms of getting a handle on this? The city coming back, the city getting back to normal, able to get back to normal. How long is it going to take? What do you think?
I think it's going to be a while before the city gets back to normal. There's a lot of uncertainty. Being told the air is fine, the water is fine. Hopefully it is. You know, I'm taking it at an expert that's telling me that it's fine. So I mean, but there's still a stigma to the town now. We had a toxic disaster happen in this town. So how long does it take for that stigma to lift off of our town? You know, not just the chemical side of it, but the personal side of it. You know, being a business owner, I have people do not want to come into town and do business with us because they don't feel safe.
They won't come here and have their tires fixed.
Correct.
Who used to come.
Yeah.
And they live like 20 miles away, or 10
Yes.
miles away. But the people in town, of course, they'll come.
We still have the people, you know, our in-town customers are still coming to us, and we greatly appreciate that. But you know, we're losing our out-of-town customers.
All of your out-of-town customer or most?
We've lost most of our out-of-town customers.
Wow. Now, is that true of businesses in general here?
I know a lot of the small businesses are feeling that effect because it's not just my business that don't want to come into town. So any business in town and pretty much the immediate area right now, you know, is having a hard time with this.
And part of that is, and whether this is excusable failure or not, I don't know, but part of it is not being able to explain credibly what the situation is.
Yes.
No one is going to accept at this point an explanation that the water is fine and the air is fine.
There's a lot of uncertainty to that. They're telling us it's
Right.
fine, but they're not saying why it's fine. They're not giving us a number to say, here's where you should be, here's where it's at, this is why we're saying it's fine. They're just saying it's fine.
So how do you see it? How do you see the future of East Palestine?
I like to be optimistic.
Mhm.
So I like to see us move past this. I like to see this as an opportunity for people to maybe want to come see what our town's about, see how we've came together, be a great community, you know, and want to be here. So
Well, that can be, I mean, that can be the impetus for, that can be the impetus for a major revival. So
I'm hoping.
I hope that happens.
Yes.
I really do. And thank you.
Thank you.
very, very much. for
Listen, I
letting us-
appreciate you coming down to our small town.
Oh,
This is a little
no,
slice
we'll
of
be
small
back.
town America.
We,
So we appreciate you coming.
promised the mayor we will keep checking to make
Okay.
sure they don't forget you,
We hope so.
because that could happen too.
Yes. Thank you, sir.
Mr. Ted, what do you say? What do we have now? You're the maestro.
All righty. We're going to bring on Don Elzer, also a local business owner. And Don lives very close to where this derailment happened, and he'll give us his perspective as somebody who lives right here in the community and is from the area. Thank you, Don.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Mayor, for being here.
Don, thank you. Thank you very, very much for being here. So tell us now again, if you can, similar to what we went through, your perspective, where you were, how you found out about it, and how bad you thought it was.
I was just north of New York City the night it happened.
Okay.
I was in Brewster, New York.
Okay.
My wife called me and said, I took the dog out and something big has happened. She said, I can see flames, but I don't know what it is. I said, well, just stay in the house. In the morning, I'll head home. So I started getting reports, as Harry did, on what had happened. And we found out it was a train, that it was on that side of the tracks. So we knew what it had affected. We know the businesses there. We didn't have any idea how bad it was at that point.
But you knew it was an explosion, train derailment, but you didn't know about the chemical releases at that point.
We did not. I don't think anybody at that point. I started listening to the social media, started listening to the newscast to find out what was going on. And we knew it was on fire, but that's all we knew at that point.
Because if this didn't involve these chemicals, this would been a terrible derailment because so many cars were involved. But it was something you'd be able to manage.
Much more easy.
Yeah,
Yes.
yeah. So it's the chemical situation and the unknown. What's going to happen? We have seen sickness created by it, right? You've seen animals that are dead, people that are sniffling, people that have headaches, people that have rashes, people have things. Thank goodness, as far as we know, no one's died as a result.
Correct.
Thank goodness.
Yes.
We also recognize we have a long way to go because these things take a while to develop.
Something I heard you say earlier,
Yeah.
something I thought about a lot is I would much rather be told I don't know than make up a story and tell me
That's the
something
truth,
that
isn't it?
that we find out is wrong, because it just causes mistrust.
Yeah, I mean, I'm willing to accept I'm willing to analyze any explanation with an open mind, but I would have very, very hard time with a definitive answer that didn't include some degree of, we got to watch and wait a bit.
Yes, I was at a round table last night, and I was surprised how many people were sick and were told it's nothing. It seems much more likely that it is. We don't know what it is.
Yeah, it may be something, and something that's manageable. I mean, and if they ever get around to being able to show that it's manageable, you're not going to believe it.
Yes.
I don't understand the mishandling of these emergencies when you build distrust. The only way around these emergencies, no matter how bad they are, is trust.
And that's one of the things that's lacking here.
Yeah.
And it's across the board. The residents, the businesses are all in the same situation, trying to put together the next step or recovery, not knowing if what we know is true.
Yeah. You seem to have, at least in your most immediate officials, the mayor, the congressman, and your fire and police, they seem solid.
They have been.
Problem is they don't know everything.
Of course not.
So they're in the same place you are.
Our mayor is a part-time job. He has stepped up and been incredible. The first responders were incredible. Harry was talking. I think they said there were fire trucks here from 3 states. So the first responders were incredible. It's the next step where I think we're down. What's here, what's happening, and what effect is it going to have on us long term? None of us know the answers to that.
So what is the feeling? Are people going to stick in and try to save this wonderful town? Because it's a lovely town. We've hoped to be able to show some pictures of it. People might have an impression of it as like a broken down old town, or it's just the opposite. It's a fire. 2 days before this incident, you drive through here and say, what a charming town.
It's a terrific little town, and the people who are extremely resilient. If anybody can come back from this weekend, the thing in my mind that's going to be the long-term effect, if the environment's not destroyed, is the stigma. Harry spoke to it, that we have a greenhouse. Last week, UPS wouldn't bring us plants.
You told me this. You have a greenhouse, yeah.
And UPS wouldn't deliver here. We go pick up. One of our friends just called us 2 nights ago and said his car broke down. The tow truck wouldn't come here. Those kind of things. Our greenhouse in the spring sells herbs and vegetables. We've already been told by some of our wholesale customers they won't buy from us. The stigma that is around us now will affect them. So those kind of things are going to be hard to fix, and it's going to take a tremendous marketing job by everybody to fix that.
So the worry is that the food would be affected. And even if there are definitive tests that say no, there'll still be a level of why take a risk.
Yes, and you can kind of understand that with your families. We just had some high school teams refuse to come here to compete with our high school teams. Actually forfeited games not to come here, and that's going to be hard to get over. I think that's going to be the harder part to get over.
Right. Well, I think the sooner and the faster they stabilize the situation on the ground and put together a plan with the federal government on board as to how you're going to fix it and how you're going to stick with it, the sooner and the faster. That takes time to cure itself. It does get cured with time,
certainly,
but it takes time.
It's going to be a gradual process. There'll be, well, as Harry said, there's some people that came back immediately. There's some people who come back in a week. Some people in a year. Some people never.
I give you my experience with Lower Manhattan, that was bombed horribly on
Yes.
September 11 and totally evacuated.
Yes.
Because there was no electricity, no power of any kind, and there were toxic. We didn't know what.
Sure.
Invaded all of those buildings, both commercial and residential, really empty. And there were, for 4 weeks, 5 weeks, maybe longer than that, there was very serious concern that nobody would ever return.
Yes.
And people were beginning to give me alternative plans for what we could do with downtown Manhattan. And I'm going to take you to now. Downtown Manhattan has 3 times the population it had before. and it has 2 times the commercial population. And it didn't happen all at once. It happened slowly. 1 or 2 big decisions like Merrill Lynch, which gave other people a lot of confidence.
Sure.
Some businesses said no and never changed their mind.
Yes.
Never changed their mind. Big business never changed their mind. The strange thing is every time there's a terrorist threat, one of the first things you hear on the news is, well, one of the targets was Lower Manhattan. So these people are living in a place, whether it is in fact the top terrorist location or not, it gets mentioned so damn often they have to believe it.
Yes.
They live there anyway.
Sure. And media coverage is I think a great thing here for us because it's bringing attention here. Mr. Trump being here yesterday was tremendous for us. But it also focuses on all the negatives here.
Yeah.
They're not walking around showing the things that are still working, the things that are going well.
Right.
A reporter said to me yesterday, she's from New York, and she said, I expected this to be a ghost town. And she said, I got here and there's people everywhere.
Yeah, I did too.
So
I didn't expect a ghost town, but I expected a far worse situation. I find a pretty darn stable situation here.
Yes. The people are very resilient here. A large percentage of our population were born here, are still here. Those people aren't going anywhere.
But we'll be back to keep checking on it.
We can't tell you how much we appreciate that.
I told the mayor the thing that I want to be there for him is make sure he gets everything he wants and needs and doesn't get cheated. But number 2, that they stick with it a year and 2 and 3 years from now. Because you could get this whole damn thing resolved, and I sure don't want to create more problems for you. But 5 years from now, somebody could walk in with a disease and you don't even know what the hell it is.
For sure.
You need the resources to fall back on if, God forbid, that happens. So you can find out right away what it is. And it may very well just be an aberration of some kind. But because it's here, they'll think it's okay.
One of the things we've been doing is collecting contact information from all the media so we can do a 1-year anniversary.
Good.
Come back and see what we've done, how we've recovered. Thank you for being here.
Thank you.
And that's smart, Don, by the way, having that list for the press.
Thank you.
Thanks for coming, Don. Mayor, we're going to go right into our next guest.
Joe, we have a nice little audience lined up here. What's your name? Lonnie, come sit down. Come sit down.
Can I hug you first?
Can you hug me
Yes,
first?
oh my
Yeah,
God.
I'm Italian. Everybody can hug an Italian.
It is a pleasure. It's a pleasure to
Notice
meet
it's a
you.
nice, I'm a little chilly, so I'm taking a nice long hug. Hey, come sit
Oh
down.
my gosh.
Come sit down, Lonnie. That was a nice hug. How come not everybody hugs me, huh?
Aw,
What a nice hug.
So we have with us Lonnie Miller. Lonnie is a local resident and also a local business owner. She owns Mama's Attic, a antique. I'll let her describe it, but it's definitely a place we'd want to
definitely
visit.
passed it today. I saw it.
Aw.
I saw it.
camera's over here.
Hi guys. It's an honor
I'm
to.
going to show you this.
Aw, okay.
Okay, there you go. sweetheart. So yeah, I saw it from the street.
Our shop has been closed
But it's closed, and
this entire time.
are you doing any work on it? But you can see it.
Um,
You can still see it from the street.
My home is also affected by the derailment.
So
Um,
where's your business and where's your home in reference to the
My business
the
is
derailment.
roughly a mile from the derailment, and our home of 30 years is roughly 1,800 feet from the derailment site. So I am definitely in the zone with my family,
Oh my,
um,
1,800 feet.
with my husband of, oh my goodness, we'll be married. We were married in 1996. So this has been our home.
Congratulations.
Thank
Congratulations.
you. Thank you. Our son will be 21 in March, and he resides with us. So this has impacted my family, my business, all of my friends and family, my entire hometown. This is my life.
I'm really so upset for you.
Thank you.
Well, let's start. Let's start.
Thank you.
What do you want to start with? Your home? Want to start with your home?
Oh,
Okay. So your home is right there.
yes.
We saw a home like that today, right there. And it so what impact does it have right now? Do you not know?
I do not feel safe in my home.
I know you don't, but is that because did anybody say to you, we found this or we found that or we found this? Or are you saying to yourself, there must be problems because I'm so close, the water?
We were home the night of the derailment. We were in our living room and we felt our house shook It shook and the windows rattled with the impact of the train when it derailed. We went out on our front porch and I saw the flames and the smoke. And it's something that I don't wish on my worst enemy, seeing that and living through that, and the sirens and the fire trucks and the first responders. And thank God for them.
Do they come to your house?
They came to our house roughly about an hour. It all happened so quickly.
Did you feel safe in the house at that point?
We sheltered in place.
But you felt
Yes.
far enough away
Yes.
so you didn't feel
We did.
danger from the fire.
We did. We eventually had to evacuate.
But you could see the fire. You could hear the fire.
Yes, you could see.
And you could feel it.
Yes. And you could eventually smell the smoke and the fumes. And it truly was a living nightmare. And I know I'm still suffering from issues.
No, you are, my
from-
dear. I've been with many people that
I
have
am.
gone through fires, and this is a much more traumatic experience than
And the
an
sounds.
explosion.
Yes.
Although it's hard for people to understand who haven't been through it, there is a difference between a fire and an explosion.
And that
An explosion is very traumatic. situation.
Saturday after the initial derailment, there were constant explosions that we could hear. So it wasn't just that
Minor
large,
explosions.
minor, yes,
Yeah.
minor ones, but they still rattled the
So
windows.
as it was burning certain areas, there'd
things
be an
were,
explosion.
yes, things were going
How
off.
long a area was the fire? Does anyone know?
I'm not quite
A
sure.
mile? Did it go for a mile?
50 train cars?
Yes, I believe it was 50
So it
train
must have
cars.
gone at least a mile.
And
Bobby? 9,000 feet. Okay, well, that's pretty long. Yeah.
But
And that would be at the beginning, pretty consistent fire.
yes, we eventually did evacuate from our home.
When
We
did
had to.
you evacuate?
Let's see. So we sheltered in place through Saturday, Sunday morning.
Okay, it happened Friday night.
Yes.
You stayed. Now, could you sleep? I mean, you
No,
couldn't.
there was
you
no
couldn't
sleep.
You could smell it while you were
Yes.
sleeping.
Yes.
So now you stayed there on Saturday. You stayed home on Saturday.
Yes.
Did you stay inside most of the day?
Yes, we sheltered in place.
Worried about the air and the.
Yes.
Were you
And-
worried about the fire? Were you worried about the fire being close?
We were to an extent, but we knew that if it felt
That
too
the fire
close,
department would
yes,
come.
Yes.
And had they made contact with you?
yes.
And with your
And-
neighbors too?
I actually checked on our one neighbor because she is disabled, and I made sure that she got out, that
Was
she
she-
was evacuated.
Was she
Yes.
closer or further away?
She was a little closer than us. Yeah.
So you went to visit her,
Yes, I knocked on her door and made sure that she was aware of what was going on.
and then she
Yeah.
stayed for a while, and then
I think she left pretty quickly.
Okay.
Yes.
okay.
Could I talk about my friends that are standing over here in the audience
You can
watching
talk
right
about
now?
anything you want. That's why I have you on. I want
Thank you so much.
I want you to convey
These,
to your fellow citizens what
these,
you're going through, so they can
these
help.
two lovely people are two of my dearest friends,
Come up here.
Kat and Travis Smith.
Hello, Pat. Why don't you stand
That-
behind
this
us? I
is
think
this
we
is
get the best
Travis.
shot.
This is
We'll get the
Travis,
best
and
shot.
this is Kat.
Pat,
Kat. She's Kat.
This is Kat,
Kathy.
yeah.
Kathy.
And-
Catherine, but
Kathy and Travis Smith.
and Travis and Kathy. Okay.
They
So-
actually live right around the corner here, where the creek is running, where the chemicals are churning in the water. Their home, they need to be evacuated from their home. She has
That's
been
the same creek we looked at today, Ted.
Leslie Ryan.
That's right.
she needs
Oh, that looks
evacuated from
awful.
her home.
That looks awful.
She's
It's
been
terrible.
she's been diagnosed with chemical bronchitis, and I don't know if anybody
Pretty
out there
awful.
can help
Very
us
much.
get her moved out of her home. She cannot stay here. She cannot be in her home.
Well, is there a agency or a service you can go to ask for that help right now?
Not that we know of right now. And
Will
it's-
you give us your name?
Yeah. Well, so
Get
what we'd
somebody
like
to
to
get
do,
it.
we have a very passionate audience, very loyal audience to the mayor, and of course, we want to do what we can to help out. So if we can get, I don't know if you have a GoFundMe set up. Do you have the name of the GoFundMe? Get that to me. Get that to us. We'll put this on in the coming days, and we're going to ask our
Let's get their
audience
contact
to help
information.
out. So
Let's
our
get her
audience.
contact information.
She needs moved out.
And
They-
let's
they
talk-
need-
and let's
their-
talk
their
to the-
family. They have a young boy that needs moved out as well. They have a
So
family.
let's get their information, Ted, and let's call the mayor's office tomorrow.
Thank you so much.
So I always find the best answer to anything is Go to the top.
Thank you. I appreciate that so very
Okay.
much.
And the
because
mayor seems like a good
So
man.
we really appreciate it. We're gonna do what we can to help out.
Thank you.
We have a lot of
Okay,
guests. We have
you
a
heard what I said. I want you to write out for me your name, address, name of your kids, last name, your phone numbers, and we'll see if tomorrow morning we'll call the mayor's office and we'll get somebody to find some substitute lodging for you for a while. What's going on in your house? What is it?
At night, the smell is
Smells
horrible.
are very bad.
The smells are horrible. In our basement, it's leaking water whenever it rains, and it seems like the runoff water that's coming
It's
in.
coming in. That's,
It just
it's got that oily sheen and everything. And
The chemical.
so water is entering the household.
The contamination.
So water, this water, which is contaminated by this toxic waste, has made its way into your home. So if we can get your contact info and everything, we're going to follow up and make sure that we stay in touch and help out how we can, as the mayor has asked. And we will be sure to stay in touch.
Thank you.
Lonnie, did you have anything else you wanted to add right at this moment?
How about you? You're going to be leaving soon?
My family and I, we returned to East Palestine 2 days ago. We've stayed away this entire time because
So
I have
are you
just,
going to leave again?
I do not believe so. I want to stay. This is my town.
It's okay to go away for a
I-
little while until it gets better.
I just had to
Doesn't
stay
mean- it do-
away. I know.
It doesn't
I know.
mean you're abandoning it if you stay away for a week or
I
2 weeks
had-
or 3 months or.
I had a lot on my plate because actually this morning I testified for Senator Douglas Mastriano of Pennsylvania.
Good man. He's a good friend of mine.
I
And
actually
what-
testified for him this morning.
And what was he asking about? About the
He's opening Senate hearings on the train derailment and the handling because of the emergency response that he chairs.
good for him. He's a good
And
man.
He is. He's a wonderful man. And it was an honor to testify for him this morning for my family and my town.
I'm glad you did that.
Thank you.
We'll be in touch.
Thank
You
you.
leave all the information
We
with
will.
him. Before I leave, I'll make sure we
Thank
have
you.
it, okay?
Thank you.
We'll get you out of there as soon as we can, all right?
thank you very much.
God bless you.
We're going to move right into our next guests. Those of you that listened to the radio show will remember Courtney. So we'll have you both there, and then go ahead and introduce yourselves.
I'll come right in the middle.
Yep. And go ahead and introduce yourselves.
Hi, I'm Courtney Miller.
I'm Nick Sorter.
And Nick has been on the ground as a independent journalist. He was early on scene when this happened. And of course, Courtney, those of you that listened to the mayor's show earlier today heard from Courtney. But we wanted to have them on to kind of explain their experience, specifically Courtney with that video that went viral. And of course, we want to hear how your experience as an independent journalist being here early.
I live, well, sorry, my voice is a little hoarse from staying here for too long. I usually only stay a couple days at a time because after a couple of days, it starts to get real bad, my voice and trying to breathe, and it's just really hard. So I try only staying for short periods of time because it gets too bad to breathe. So I understand why people have these breathing problems and these headaches and the lightheadedness. It just and I'm 35 years old. I'm a pretty healthy young woman. I don't think I'm old. I'm not old, right?
You're not old at all. You're still,
Say so.
according to somebody who made an idiot out of themselves recently, you're still in your prime.
Okay. Well, see, then I shouldn't be that sick.
You got 5 years to go.
Okay, at least
At
5.
40, you're out of your prime, according to Don Lemon.
It's good to be able to laugh in the light of the situation.
You are definitely in your prime.
Yeah.
But I mean, but you're. So would it be fair to say that you feel generally healthy, but you have these issues?
Yeah, that weren't here
Like what?
prior to, like the breathing problems, like the losing my voice. Like it's just harder to breathe in. I feel like I'm not getting enough oxygen.
I don't know
in
your
when I'm breathing.
natural voice, but I can hear a hoarseness in your voice. I hear
It really isn't this bad.
and the lady before has bronchitis,
That's what I was hearing.
which means it's in her chest, which is always dangerous.
And I
because
believe that
that's-
Norfolk Southern needs to pay for her to have somewhere to go.
Well,
Honestly.
that's dangerous because that's what creates pneumonia when it gets in your chest.
Hmm.
You definitely should see a doctor immediately when it gets into the chest
Yeah, I went to
because you
nursing
got to
school.
stop. You got to stop it.
Hmm.
And
fluid builds up in your lungs?
tell us how did you got involved originally because you lived there, and you basically you live right next to it.
Yeah,
I mean, it was
the creek
happened
is in
right
my
behind.
backyard. Yeah.
One of the explosions was right in your backyard, right?
Hmm. Just a few hundred feet away.
Right,
Few
and
yards away.
that because of that, it spilled over into the
Into my creek.
creek.
Mhm.
That is now is that creek ruined all the way up and down?
As far as I can go until it gets to Leslie Run. That's Sulphur Run that goes into
How far
Leslie
away
Run.
is that?
I'm not real sure how far away it is. It's not very far.
How many houses like yours are affected by that creek in the back? Like you have 10 houses, 12 houses have a creek like that?
I'm not sure. Like the way it runs and then it swerves in through town and then underneath. So I mean, there's businesses it goes past too.
Right.
So it could be just affecting the businesses along with the residents. I mean, and then on top of it, just not the water pollution, the air pollution.
Right.
Like it's just a total whammy that they should have cleaned up well before it got to that point.
Well, it looked like they were cleaning up something today. May I just say, however, having been a mayor in charge of people who do that, they didn't seem to be working very hard, nor did they seem to be working very quickly. In fact, I didn't see them working at all. I saw them looking.
Yep, that's what they do. They watch me.
But they were looking at what they were going to do instead of doing it. I had this terrible urge to say, damn it, start doing it. I used to do that when I was mayor. Now I can't. But I mean, it probably bothers you and has made this much, much worse by the lackadaisical attitude that pervades this from the very top, from Biden and Buttigieg, but also a lot of the workers that are supposedly not the first responders who seem to have jumped right to it, but the people who have to do the cleanup work.
Yeah.
That's just as important.
And they should be wearing masks when they're in that creek. I mean, that smell is horrible, and
And you don't know
making
what it
everyone sick.
is. You really
No.
right now don't know what it is or how bad it is.
And these on the ground workers don't know either.
No, nobody
It's their
knows.
bosses that
Yeah,
have
they're
a lot more
contracted.
information. The contractors, the on the ground workers they are doing what they are told to do. And Norfolk Southern nor the general contractors are going to tell them that it is dangerous to be in there without any sort of PPE, because if they did, it would look terrible for the
Like
general
people in
population
spacesuits.
here. It would scare them.
That's terrible. So now how did you get it? To tell us how you first became involved.
I got a little angry one night, and decided that I was going to drive down here in the middle of the night
Where
from
were you?
Lexington, Kentucky, so about 7 hours away. And so I got in my car about 10:30 p.m. that night.
When was it in relation to the
After the derailment.
That was after the so it was probably 8
Come in
days
closer.
after, 9 days after.
So we have you in
Yeah.
the microphone.
So it was 8 or 9 days after, which is relatively speaking, I should have been here a lot earlier, right?
Relatively
But-
speaking, it should have been pretty well fixed by then.
Exactly. Well, yeah, you're absolutely
If
right.
not relatively fixed, it should have been something that they had a handle on, right?
But Mayor ticked me off. It really did, because I got here. There were no cameras. There was no media. Nobody on the ground that
So
was
you
actually talking
decided-
about the issue.
You decided you were going to cover it
Yep, I decided I was going to
Because it-
cover it on Twitter. That's what I wanted to
because it wasn't getting covered.
do. Right, exactly. There were no mainstream media outlets that I could see that were covering it. You'd see an online publication every once in a while doing it, but they weren't really pushing it. And with the power of Twitter, especially nowadays, you are able to push these things out, because back, let's say early last year, I would not be able to tweet some of the things now that we've been able to reveal, because
like what?
like the video of us throwing the rock into the water, that would have been considered fake news before.
Why?
Why?
What was
Because-
fake about it?
Well, Norfolk Southern has already come out and told us that it was fake news. So they've already come out and said that it was an edited video.
What was
that they
fake about it?
spoofed.
That's the way to do it.
There was literally nothing fake about it.
They're saying it
right.
was made up. We must have put something in the creek beforehand, or we did something to make it look like that.
You repeated it for us today.
Mhm.
You must
And
have
I
kept-
also did with Bernie Moreno too.
you must have kept it there for a long time.
I did. I kept it all there.
That's the video.
Can they see that?
Yeah, I'm gonna zoom in. So this is the video that went viral. It's on Nick's Twitter. While we're talking here, Nick, why don't you share with our viewers your social media accounts, so your Twitter, so that they are able to follow you.
Yeah. Well, it's at Nick Sorter. It's NickSortor. And
we're
I'm
watching
kind of
now.
live tweeting the whole thing.
What we're watching now is the substance in the river, in the creek behind Courtney's home. You can clearly see it right there on the surface of the water. So when was this video taken?
Wednesday, I believe, last week.
Yeah.
Last week. And again, you've mentioned the reaction because of that video. Is that what you think prompted some additional coverage?
Most definitely. I
Exactly
mean, we
Tuesday.
got like, how many was it in a day? Like, I mean, in like 2 days, it was like in the millions.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I think it's like up over 15 million at this point now
And that
Wow.
only
in
includes
just a
Twitter
couple of
views.
days.
Good.
Only on Twitter. So, I mean, you have all these mainstream media outlets that have now played it over and over and over again. And so you think, I mean, we're well over 20 million views total. But this was actually, to correct myself, this was on Tuesday of last week. And then if you think what happened on Wednesday, you had both of the U.S. senators come out here and make public appearances, and you had the EPA administrator. So this one Twitter video made a huge impact on what was going on the ground, which is
Can I see it? I wasn't able to look at the.
Watch the video.
Yeah, I just want to take a look at it. I saw it today.
And see, the
I
thing
want to
is
see how
like,
different it was from what we saw today.
yeah,
Ted, do you have a video of what happened today?
Yes, we do, and we will be sharing all week. And we'll show one of our videos.
Oh,
maybe after
my.
This one. So, ladies and
See the
gentlemen, again,
rainbows
thanks for
and
joining
everything.
us.
Yeah,
We're
yeah.
live. Ladies and gentlemen, thanks again for joining us live in East Palestine, Ohio. So comment below, of course, let us know who you are and where you're tuning in from. In the coming days, we're going to provide some more information on how you can help these folks directly. We met a number of people tonight who need all of our help as fellow Americans. So people
How
such as
has it
Travis Smith.
changed since then, as opposed to
The mayor is currently reviewing the video that we had shown you.
it hasn't changed much other than since that video they put up that barricade, but like those hay bales, they put those up since then. But other than that, nothing much has really changed.
There we go.
You know, that's the beginning of it when it starts to bubble up and ripple up, and then all that stuff just started coming up all over the place.
Oh
I
my.
mean, it's slightly better now. That's because they're pumping a bunch of stuff in it to
So what
dilute
is
it.
that? Can you tell me what that is coming up?
What that is coming up.
Yeah. Okay, 'cause
I
see the grease.
specifically hired Scott Smith to do personal testing by him, like so that I would have those test results because they're
right.
not testing. You can't find what you're not looking for.
Right.
They're not looking for the dioxins, which is what's harming people,
Right.
or the vinyl chloride, as far as I know. However, we are testing for that.
You are.
Yeah,
You're having it done.
Yes, I'm having it done. My personal guy that I have, Scott Smith, he went and tested a lot of it. Then they started coming onto my property and asking us, "Who are you? I need to know who's coming and going on this property because I'm like, what do you mean you need to know who's coming and going on my property? It's my private property and you're trespassing. You didn't come to my door. You didn't ask me for permission. And you guys brought your trucks into my yard and now there's ruts in my yard and I didn't even have a vehicle. So how is there tire marks in my yard when I wasn't home? And I come home and there's these tire marks. They were trying to destroy any kind of evidence that we'd be able to get out of the creek to send it off for samples. But luckily I got enough samples beforehand, and they've all been sent out to the lab outside of the East Coast
Mhm.
so that we can get everything tested. And hopefully, as soon as we find those results, then we can actually know what's in that creek, what's making that color, why people are still getting sick. We will find answers out. And as soon as I get those answers, I am going to blast it out there as much as I can so that people know.
Now, the answers you get from the railroad, what do you get any? Have they given you their version of what that is?
No, I think they're too scared to talk to me. I mean, they were even afraid to knock on my door to ask for permission on my property. I guess it's easier to ask for forgiveness than it is to ask for permission.
So they just
That
came on
point-
they just came on your property?
Yeah. We had videos that
Now, once
on
you
Fox
told them
earlier.
off,
And then the next day they were back again.
they did it anyway.
Mhm.
Police help?
Oh no! As soon as I asked them the second time, I was like, "You guys, this isn't your property, and nobody's asked me if you can come on this property. It's my property."
But
And they haven't shown back up on my side since this morning.
Are they doing this to everyone in the area? Are they doing this to everyone?
No, it's none that I know of.
Right.
But I'm the one that's been stomping my feet and making the most noise and causing the most ruckus
Right.
because I literally have nothing to lose.
Mhm.
And Mayor, we actually have that water technology expert here tonight. So if it's okay with you, we'll bring him on next.
I think that
Yeah.
sounds like
Courtney, thank you. And of course, Nick, thank you.
Nope.
good job, by the way. Keep covering.
Yes, please. And stay in touch with us.
Very
We're
We're
valuable
obviously
work.
will be in touch.
Are most welcome.
And we want to stay in touch with you, of course. And we want to do more. And stick around if you can, because at the end, we'll want to do a big group picture. All right. Our next guest is Scott.
Hello, Scott.
Scott Smith.
Well, Scott,
I
it's
didn't
an
know I was
honor to
doing this
meet
interview
you.
till about 2 minutes ago.
Just boy, do we need an expert? I'll tell you.
So, Scott, why don't you give us, and the cameras are over here. Why don't you give us a little bit of background on yourself? We're running low. We had 8 minutes, so we want to dedicate these next 8 minutes to the facts here. What's going on? But let's give us a little bit of background so people know who you are before you start.
Let me start right off the top. Courtney hired me for exactly $0.00, and I'm here as Chief Sustainability Officer for a company called Eco Environmental Technologies. And for more information, go to my Twitter. But Mayor, Legionella, Pseudomonas aeruginosa, we have solutions actually, to problems with pathogens with being adopted all over the country at hospitals, saving lives every day.
Right.
So I am here because of that company that has the budget to send me here, which is great.
Right.
So I want to tell you that. And my history's back actually 17 years ago. It's on my Twitter. I think a good friend of yours, Senator Chuck Schumer, nominated me for the SBA Phoenix Award in the Bush White House.
Isn't that nice?
And on my Twitter at the top, it's the press conference from 2000. Remember that 500-year flood in upstate New York?
Mhm.
My factory was wiped out on that.
Oh,
And
wow.
that's where I realized that, wow, water is not in equilibrium. And like, if you scoop this in the creek and get tested, the water test is only going to tell you what is in this bottle of water. You can't declare the water safe. So all our water standards are based on the flawed assumption that water and contamination are always in equilibrium.
So that water, the water itself will contain the evidence, but it doesn't.
No,
necessarily.
what I've developed is we use
That
this
makes
technology.
sense.
I've developed a technology as a result of the flood. My
Right.
whole life was wiped out. The insurance
Right.
company didn't, and we rebuilt it. So I developed an open cell foam that started out as medical that tests water the same way a human. A fish doesn't swim in the water for a split second. A human doesn't bathe for a split second. So why are we testing for a split second? We want to test exposure over time.
Right.
So that's what
right.
we are doing here. And also, you can't find what you don't look for. And if you don't look for vinyl chloride, if you don't look for dioxins,
They're not?
you can't find it. Now, here, I've been thinking the best way to quickly have an analogy, since you were a very successful prosecutor. So let's say I walk out down the street tonight and somebody kills me associated with Norfolk Southern.
Mhm.
So let's say it's like going to the trial.
Gee.
It's like saying the trial, the court says, no, this is how you
Sounds
explain
like
it.
We're building a movie. here.
No, so the court says, okay, Norfolk Southern, you can do the DNA testing and we'll accept it. So the Norfolk Southern does the DNA testing and says a human killed Scott Smith. We can't go into we can't go into the details of which human. So for example, if you test this water right now, generally for VOCs and say gasoline, but VOCs, there's 30 underneath that, 30 different categories, like a DNA test. And within that is vinyl chloride and a whole host of other VOCs. And also a big tanker, it's right on the EPA website, heavy lubrication oil spill. So benzene,
Right.
there is no safe limit. Any amount of benzene in the water. So no one's even talking about that. So the point is that back to the trial. So if you put the defendant in charge of the expert testing, what do you think you're going to get? You're not going to identify the human. You're not going to identify the chemical. So without spending 80 minutes
I got you.
going into these, that's the analogy.
To do the test properly, what would you have to do? What kind of sample would you have to take?
Well, first of all, you have to take.
Like you're doing the testing.
You have to take it. It's when you pull the grab sample. We use those two because those are effective, and then we do this exposure over time or time weighted average. But you can't find what you don't look for. If you don't look for the vinyl chloride, you don't look for the dioxin,
So
you're not going to find it.
Do you go deeper down?
Yeah, we go deeper down in the
You
water.
take some of that junk out. That's
Yep.
that they're.
We
pulling
touch
out.
and we swab the soil. It's like
Yeah,
like
but it would seem to me that I mean, I don't know anything about this, but it would seem to me I would grab some of that and test that with that junk that's there. Find out what's in that.
that's what we did, and the video is available
Not
on
just
Twitter.
the water.
That see, you can be a water expert.
No, just a common sense person.
It is no, it's so simple. It's so simple. But you could game the system. Like if I'm taking these grab samples, I can go over to the clear portion, take it from the top. But what we do is we come into contact with exposure over time with this special material called open cell foam.
Ah. So what have you found so far? And
Well,
how definitive is it, or is it in the category of you're not sure yet?
we just packaged up the first round, and those samples were FedEx today. I chain of custody. I documented everything
Sure,
that'll
sure,
stand
sure.
up legally. So the
When
lab
did
will get
you
that
When did you collect these?
yesterday.
Okay, so you
So that
just
video.
started. You
So
collected
so it
you
depends.
collected it yesterday. You sent it off to the lab today.
Yep.
Do you do any preliminary testing here?
No, you can't. You can't do. There's no accurate preliminary testing, and if anybody ever says they can do that, that's just simply not correct.
So how long does the testing take? So now
Seven
it
to
goes
10 days, and the dioxin testing is the dioxins. There are only 2 labs in the country that can do it, and one of them is 8 to 9 weeks lead time, and the other is 15 to 20 days. And I just got clearance from them today to test for the dioxin. See, the railroad and the contractors, they're very good at what they do. So they're telling residents it'll be $15,000 to do this
Well,
testing.
that's not what they're supposed to be.
You know,
doing.
and
What they're
and-
supposed to be good at is conveying people from one area to another, not conning them.
Well, again, this goes to a larger issue. I mean, undue influence. Let's not kid ourselves. I mean, again, because of the media, people like you educating this. I've been in over 60 disasters since my own got wiped out. I started doing this when I realized water.
Well, I'm
And-
going to tell you a disaster that ruined a company. They're trying to do this, and maybe they should listen to this story. When Flight 800 happened, and I don't know if you remember Flight 800. It was in
Yes.
1996. It was a TWA flight headed for Paris out of JFK Airport. It was shot down 4 minutes out over the Atlantic Ocean. There was speculation it was shot down by a missile. Speculation, purely speculation. I can't tell you after years of seeing all the evidence if that speculation is correct or incorrect. I wish I could tell you it was incorrect. I can't tell you that either. But in any event, the reality is that we took over. New York City took over taking care of the families, and we did all the diving because the Coast Guard, in fact, the Coast Guard didn't get there for 5 days. So we set up a family center. TWA shows up the next day or maybe the day after with about 100 people. They're going to take over and they're going to help. They're going to help all the passengers' families. Now, I was a little naive. I let them do it. And one of my friends came to me who was a judge whose girlfriend died on the flight. And he said, Mayor, you were really stupid to do that. I said, oh, thanks. Well, what did I do? Look at the form. So I look at the form, and the form is a form theoretically to identify DNA. So what would it ask for? It would ask for your toothbrush, your underwear, any place where cells of your body. Then it has little questions like, what's your husband's? How tall is he? Okay, well, is he heavy? Is he overweight? Does he smoke? Does he ever use marijuana? Does he have any history of a heart condition? Does he have any history of cancer? Now, what the hell does that have to do with DNA? What does that have to do with? What that has to do with is liability at a trial.
Exactly.
Because if I can take this guy down to a 2-year lifespan,
Yep.
instead of having to give him 10 million, I can give him 2 million. And they were doing this to hundreds of people.
That's a great story. I didn't know that.
I threw them all out. And the president of TWA, very, very officious son of a bitch, came in and said, "You can't do this. We're TWA." I said, all my life people have been telling me that. The greatest pleasure I have in life, probably because I was brought up in Brooklyn and I never thought I'd get a chance to do this. He said, "What? Telling jackasses like you, get the hell out of here.
Good.
If you don't get out of here, you see that guy right there?
That's a great story.
You're going to put handcuffs on you. You're going to be sitting on Rikers Island. I don't give a shit if you're the head of TWA or what you are. Get the hell out of here. And all your people have already been removed." He said, "If you harmed anyone, I'm going to sue you." I said, "Hey, I have 80 suits against me. Join 81. But I bet you the suit against me is going to be nothing like the suit against you."
So Scott, before
Gone 4 months later.
Wow.
That guy is off in the ash bin of CO, and so is TWA.
that took down TWA, didn't it?
Damn right it took down TWA. They were trying to double cross all those people.
That's a great story. Do I have your permission to use
can
that
tell that
story?
story
Because
anytime.
that's
It's
a
in
great
books.
analogy. You got
It's
to
what they
simply
do.
tell what goes
And
on
I
in these
found
disasters.
out that many airlines have trained their staff. They train about 1,000 people in their airline to do this, to be really be like little miserable, to really nice to you and, "Oh, so sorry, so bad. Oh, did he smoke? Or did he smoke?
Yep.
So
Did he have a little heart? Oh, yes, he had a little heart."
So before Mayor, of course, the fastest hour on the internet, it's already up. We are in extra what we call stoppage time. Nobody knows except for the ref how much time over we go. Soccer rules. But Scott, on a serious note, before we close out, what are next steps? What is your message, if you're willing to say something to the people of East Palestine? Anything you're willing to say about the water situation? Just in closing, what would you like people to know as somebody, as an expert in this area?
First of all, I'm going to be here doing all I can do to support the community.
How long will you be here?
I'll be back here as often as it takes.
Well, we're going to want to keep in contact. When you get your information back, would you let us know so we can put it, we can cover it?
Oh yeah, we'll be in touch.
And if you find other people other than yourself who's also doing that, there must be people independently doing this all over town. You just see if we can
collect it.
let's see if we can collect some of that. All right? Because
Let me. I want to encourage. No matter how bleak it looks,
we can make up names. I've done that for years. Remember, I passed through the block. So, I never used a real name. I never used a. If I used a real name, they've all been killed.
I want to say, no matter how bleak it looks, I want to tell. Okay, no matter how bleak it looks, I want to tell the people of Palestine. Here's the good news.
Please.
I've been in 60 of these disasters. I've been attacked. I've seen everything go on. There's something different about this one. People are coming together in a way that I have never seen.
Yes.
And I want to find nothing dangerous in the water more than anything. I don't think that's going to happen, but I'm going to stay here and do all I can with all resources I have. And this community is coming together. There's great people. There's people coming together that I've never seen to get the truth out, to stand up.
I'm glad you said that. I had that same absolute impression after today. I told you you're a good woman, didn't I?
Yes, you did.
A lot of good women and a lot of good men in this town.
Great people.
I was
Never give up.
very shocked. Come here, come here, come here, come on. Millie, you join us too. Come on.
Come on, anyone that wants to get in here.
Come on.
We're gonna close out here with the
This is what makes a community work. People, good people. That's what makes it work. This will be terrible, but it's not stronger than them, right? They'll overcome. You've seen a lot worse than this.
We're so
Let me tell you, my whole life was wiped out. I had $600. I had $600. I had $600 in my name at one point.
Yeah,
but
among other
never
things,
give
they're
up
keeping-
hope. Never give up hope.
They're keeping me warm.
Yeah.
This is very nice.
It's almost like a heated
They're
blanket.
keeping me warm. But I have a good feeling. I have a good feeling about the people of this town also.
Very good. Very
I
good.
think they certainly don't feel panic.
No.
You feel great concern, anger, but you don't feel panic.
That's what a community does. They come together. That's what they're
God
supposed
bless
to do.
you. God bless you all.
And Mayor, what is your closing message?
My closing
this
message
evening?
is they're going to make it. And America should join and help. And we're going to do everything we can to get them to join and help. This is something that Americans should join in on because these are extraordinarily good people. They're the core of what makes America work. We've got a lot of people that aren't. They are. God bless them. God bless America.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.